This is Professional Life Crisis. I'm your host, Amanda. And by now, I'm a damn near professional at having a life crisis. This podcast is here to help you get through those messy, uncertain times riddled with ramen noodles and self-doubt. If you're an ambitious, curious young professional trying to pave your way in the world, it's not as scary as I once thought it was. But I really wish I'd had someone to tell me that. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this week's episode of Professional Life Crisis. This week, we're going to be talking all about the different ways that you can find your own personal job satisfaction. And after doing some research and reflecting on my own experiences, let me tell you, there are a lot of different ways that people extract satisfaction from their careers. It's really not a one-size-fits-all approach, and there are a lot of different ways that people feel satisfied from different types of jobs. So if you're in that phase where you're wondering, why do I not feel fulfilled by the work that I'm doing? This might just be the episode for you. When I look back on my early career, the primary emotion I remember feeling was like this mind meld of FOMO and confusion mixed with dissatisfaction. Like I was missing out on some other type of work life that I could be living. Because when I looked around and I saw the people who seemed to be really thriving in the corporate environment that was consulting, I thought something was wrong with me for not liking it. I really could not have cared less about the prestige of the clients that I worked with or the idea that I could make MD one day and have a really nice life with a high-paying corporate job. In all honesty, it actually made me sick to my stomach most times, which is something that I really only told like my trusted circle of friends and maybe one or two really close work friends. But I was kind of ashamed of the fact that I didn't see a long-term career in the place that I worked, and I didn't see myself going up the corporate ladder. And it kind of felt like dirty or wrong to be talking about how you have all these other aspirations outside of the current place that you work. So I kind of kept a lot of that in, and I really only talked about it with my close friends and my family. But eventually, after about 5 years, when I finally did change my work situation and I distanced myself from that corporate identity and corporate experience, I realized that the corporate life just wasn't what gave me satisfaction. And maybe it did for other people. And that's also okay. It can be okay for other people and not for me. And when I got older, my friends' lives and their jobs started diverging more and more from each other. Whereas a lot of our first jobs were kind of similar, and now as time goes on, they're getting more and more different. When you're new in the workforce and everyone's kind of like a low-level analyst, you may be in different fields, but you may have a lot of sort of similar experiences, and you may be able to relate more closely to what your friends do when you're younger. And then as you get older and everybody starts maturing more and getting deeper into their professional career, I feel like now I see more differences with the types of work that I do with my friends. And that's awesome. That is so cool. But when I was younger, it just felt like I was supposed to be doing this whole corporate thing because like that's kind of what most of my friends were doing. And it just felt like that was the direction that I was being pushed by like some like tailwind that was just pushing me along that direction. It didn't really feel like a conscious decision, but I did know that it didn't feel quite right. Now that my friends are older and we're all more evolved in our corporate careers and we've sort of gone our distinct paths, I see the different kinds of qualities in jobs that make them happy for different reasons that my job makes me happy. And so it inspired me to do a little bit of research and to get my thoughts straight on how do people extract satisfaction from different jobs and different work environments. So let's break down some of the ways that different people find satisfaction from their jobs. Number 1, purpose and meaning. Some people find satisfaction in jobs that really align with their personal values and give them a sense of purpose. Jobs that allow them to make a positive impact on others or contribute to a cause that they really believe in can feel really deeply fulfilling for some people. But other people might be fine to work a job that they don't think is related to their life purpose. Maybe it gives them enough money and time to do what they're passionate about in their free time. I was just having a conversation with my friend Justin about his experience in consulting. And while it's not the thing that he's most passionate about in life, It provides him enough money and enough time to do the things that he loves to do on the weekends and after work. And for him, that's enough, and that's okay. For me, I felt a bit of cognitive dissonance for this, but I'd say I fall somewhere kind of in the middle of the spectrum. I don't necessarily think that my work has to have like all purpose and meaning. I don't have to work for a company whose mission is like my be all end all. But I also couldn't work in an environment where I truly just could not see the impact of the work that I was doing, and it didn't align with me personally at all. I just couldn't see that consulting was giving much meaning to my life or meaning to the lives of the people that I was working with. So for me, I needed something that was a little bit in between. So going to work for a startup gave me that. And I was happy with feeling like my job was a little bit more aligned with what I felt I was passionate about, but it didn't have to be like, oh, like you're going to make a living scuba diving for the rest of your life, or you're going to make a living singing in choir. Those things are just not what I want to do to make money, but I am passionate about them. And for me, it's good enough if I have a job that I like enough, that I find to be meaningful enough, and that pays me enough and gives me enough time off to go and pursue those other things. Number 2 is about autonomy and control. People who value autonomy and independence may find satisfaction in jobs that offer them the freedom to make decisions, to set their own schedules, and to have control over their work processes and how they do things. So for some people, like that means that having a manager, having a really strong hierarchical system doesn't work very well. People need to be given a lot of freedom to do the work that they do best, and maybe that means that being in a big company with a lot of corporate structure is just not for them. I can see people who want a lot of autonomy and control to be better individual contributors at smaller companies, at startups where they have more decision-making power. And if that's you, then the corporate experience may just not be giving you everything that you need, and that's okay. Number 3, challenging work. Some people definitely thrive on challenges, and they really enjoy jobs that stimulate them intellectually or maybe creatively. They find tons of satisfaction in just overcoming obstacles and learning new skills and checking things off their list and achieving goals. And you know what? Other people might just want low-stress jobs where they can go home at 5 and not worry about work after hours. And honestly, there may be times in life where you prefer one or the other. Maybe you prefer a challenging job now, and at times in the future when your life circumstances change, maybe you'll prefer something a bit easier. Maybe you'll just want to go home after work and not take your work home with you. And just because I feel like no one really told me this when I was 22, but seasons of your life change, and you don't have to stay doing one thing or one type of job forever. Number 4. Work-life balance. Huge one. Achieving a balance between work and personal life is essential for some people to find job satisfaction, like we talked about before. Jobs that offer more flexibility, remote work as an option, or really good time off can contribute to someone's overall sense of well-being and less levels of stress. And I've learned that I am for sure one of these people. I'm at the point in my life where I can say confidently that I prefer remote work. I know that I work really well remotely because first, I don't live super close to the city, so at least not to the point where I'd want to commute daily. 2, because it allows me to travel and take my work with me on the road wherever I go. I want to be able to get up and go anytime and not have to ask someone if it's okay for me to go on a trip just because I'm not going to be physically in my office location. And 3, I find that it's a great balance for my life. I go into the city and I network and meet new people or collaborate with coworkers semi-regularly, and I really love it that way. And just like in the example above, I think that there are seasons of your life where you may be willing to really grind, and maybe other times where you want to work part-time or you want to work only remote so that you can focus on other things like your family, or maybe you have aging parents. It all depends, and all of those reasons are totally valid. Number 5, recognition and reward. Some people do quite well in very structured environments. So these might not be the same people as the autonomy and control camp, but others will do well by being appreciated and being recognized for all their efforts and their accomplishments. These folks might really love getting that yearly promotion and raise and really depend on that structure and the predictability, because to them it's really important to be able to predict how they're going to move up the corporate ladder. And that just really motivates them to get to the next step. And it gives them that fire under their belly to keep working and keep achieving more. And if you're this type of motivator and you like knowing that around the corner is a 20% raise every couple of years, then hell yeah, stay in the corporate world. That is much more predictable than if you were to go work at a startup, for example. Number 6, social interaction. People who are highly social, me, may find satisfaction in jobs that involve collaboration, teamwork, interacting with colleagues or clients. For these people, I wouldn't necessarily recommend driving a mail truck or being a programmer where your job is mostly solitary. If you're someone where building relationships and feeling connected to other people in your workplace gives you that satisfaction and enjoyment, or it fuels your energy to get through the day, then I would highly encourage you to look for roles that are more collaborative and cross-functional, that give you the ability to work across departments or teams and meet a lot of people. If that's what gives you energy and you know that about yourself, then you should really look for roles that give you those opportunities. Number 7, continuous learning. Some folks will always want to be learning new things. Other people want to get good at something and then have a process that they can repeat and know that they're going to be able to get their job done well. They may enjoy the ease with which they complete their work after they've figured out their personal system, and they can do that for years on end. But if you're someone with an insatiable curiosity, I probably wouldn't recommend a very regimented or very routine kind of job like this. It'll probably feel too slow paced for you and won't give you that excitement and the things to look forward to in terms of developing yourself and your own career as you learn more. If you're a lifelong learner, then you definitely need to focus on finding jobs that will give you those opportunities to continue learning and growing at every step. Number 8, financial stability. I think financial stability means different things to different people. For some people, it could mean making just enough to support themselves, go on a vacation once or twice a year, and just generally live a comfortable life. For other people, that means making a lot of money in maybe a short period of time because they have goals like they want to retire early or they want to move into a less demanding line of work in the future and have a nice large savings in case they want to buy a house. For other people, it means that they want to make money passively without really having to quote unquote work. Maybe that's things like real estate investments that make you money passively, or other forms of investing in the stock market that allows you to have a sense of freedom in life and you don't have to work on the regular 9 to 5. So I implore you to figure out what financial stability means to you, and then you can craft your next career moves around what will get you closest to that direction. Number 9. Work environment. The physical work environment, the culture of the organization you work for, and the relationships that you have with your managers and your coworkers can significantly impact how you feel about your job and whether or not you feel satisfied. A positive, supportive environment can really foster that sense of belonging, and for a lot of people, that gives them fulfillment at work. And honestly, I think a good manager and a good team can really make or break your experience. You could be working on the most interesting, cool projects that you've worked on in your life, but if you have a really shit manager or really shit teammates, it'll just suck the life out of you. And that potentially amazing experience just becomes soured by the people that you were doing it with. And number 10, the last one on the list, is tangibility. Now, tangibility refers to how closely you feel connected to the end product of your work. Do you feel like you can see tangible improvements to something based on what you have contributed? I think people who work with their hands actually feel some of the most tangible satisfaction from their jobs, because in 3 months, you might have gone from standing on a mound of dirt to building a house that a family is going to live in for the rest of their lives. And being able to physically see your work progress is something that I didn't really understand when I first started working, that that was important. And I think that people who do work with their hands feel a lot more sense of physical satisfaction at the end of every day that they have built something, they have contributed to something physical. And for me, that's a lot of why I really struggled to find any sense of meaning in consulting. Because not only was the work that I was doing not tangible, but I also felt like I couldn't even see the impact of my work, even though it was going to be in the form of like a company decision or a new strategy, and it wasn't going to be a house. I still couldn't even see the end result of what I was working on. So if that's you, maybe think about careers that are more oriented towards a physical product or a physical outcome that you can look at and say, I built that, or I contributed to that product. A great example is my best friend, Emily, who works for Peloton. Now, she does not build the bikes herself by hand, but she's an engineer, and every day she tinkers with bikes and she sees that these bikes go into people's homes and provide them with a happy, fun, satisfying workout. And to me, that's way more tangible than anything that I ever felt I was doing in consulting. And for me, that's also why it was great to work in startups, because even though I wasn't working on a physical product, I did feel so much more connected to the end result, and I felt more connected to our users after I got really embedded with a product. So if you've gotten into a cycle of questioning yourself and thinking about why your job is not making you happy or why other people seem to be thriving in what they're doing right now and you're just kind of phoning it in, I hope this episode has given you some structure to think about what boxes is your job ticking for you right now. And if it's not ticking enough of those boxes for you, maybe it's time to look for the next thing and try something different. Something I've learned in my career is that you don't know what all the different options are out there until you start exploring. And you don't know how those other options are going to feel until you actually get new experiences. So it took me from actually going to work for a startup to understand some of the reasons why I never felt fulfilled and why I didn't feel happy in consulting. And when I finally did that and I realized that I could get so much closer to the end product and I could be so much closer to customers, that really gave me a sense of satisfaction. So that's all for today. If you enjoyed this episode of Professional Life Crisis, I would love it if you would leave it a 5-star review anywhere you're listening. It really helps out the podcast to be discovered by new people. Thanks, everyone. Catch you in the next one.